just saying, if I were a good NFL head coach, if I were a hot offensive coordinator, and that coaching cycle's going to come around, and they're like, hey, do you want the Giants job? Or do you want the Michigan job? I think the Michigan job is much better.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
They're doing a new show about a Japanese interpreter.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they're doing I don't know if it's a documentary or actors are in it.
It's got
I think it's a drama.
It's a real show.
It's like a scripted show?
Yeah.
About a Japanese interpreter?
Yes.
I wonder who's getting paid for that.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
You ain't buying no tickets.
Who isn't?
You're not going to these
I'm a
games.
fan. Of course I'm not. There's a fan. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, but if you were a fan, I thought you were a fan of the Hurricanes. You're not
They told me.
They
I
smashed
told them
you.
to donate my tickets.
Yeah, so I get it. But the fans travel. They have money, believe it or not. It's amazing.
Look,
somebody's
in this
got
economy,
money.
In this economy,
But they have money. I don't know. See what Kelsey says about the economy.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Look, the trend continues to go to Blake Corum. He's still available. I can't believe he's still available. So if you have Kyron Williams, you got to have Blake Corum on your roster. And if you don't have Kyron Williams, I think you still want Blake Corum on your roster. You got to have these insurance policies on your roster at the very least. Even in a shallow league, if Blake Corum's floating out there, don't let him float out there. The last thing you want to have happen is for him to end up on some other team and then taking you the next couple weeks to win a championship.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Live on SportsGrid, one of the biggest games of the NFL season on the horizon. Kevin Walsh with you from the Decisions Desk. It is game time decisions, baby. And we have a showdown in the NFC West that could very well determine who is the Super Bowl favorite when it is all said and done. This line has swung throughout the week, setting up the Seahawks as your favorites. They sit at -1.5 on the money line. They are -120 or greater. Anywhere you look, this total tonight has fell quite a bit, 42.5. Questions around the weather. We always talk to our guy, Donnie Rightside, on a Thursday. He's always great with the weather updates, so we will get those from him. The updates, though, from this game to just try and put it all into perspective. If the Rams beat Seattle, they will, for the first time in my eyes, come close to justifying the gap that they have right now with the rest of this league in the Super Bowl market. The Rams will set themselves up to not just win the NFC West, but be the number one seed in the conference, as this game features two 11-3 football teams. What happens, though, if Seattle wins is the Seahawks will likely then be positioned as the favorites to win the division, and that means favorites to be the number one seed. And it is near impossible to envision the Los Angeles Rams as favorites to win the Super Bowl. And the waiting into the wings aspect of it all that I continually talk about is the San Francisco 49ers. I believe if we see the Seahawks win tonight, we'll have a better chance to be the one seed and win this division than the Los Angeles Rams. Very simple. If Seattle goes 2-0 in the next 2 weeks and the Niners go 2-0 in the next 2 weeks, which each are favored to do, then in week 18, it'll be Seahawks-Niners in San Francisco with the 1 seed on the line. That is where we are right now. It is remarkable. It is remarkable how important this game is. And again, it is not just narratives, but pricing will shift massively. Now, what are some of the latest news and notes around this game? No, Devontae Adams is the big one. Though it has not been confirmed, it would be stunning if he was active for this football game. And I think even if he were listed as active, is anyone looking to back or trust Adams in this spot? I don't think so. The Seahawks shape up as the healthier team here in this Thursday night matchup with the Los Angeles Rams. The big questions here are around these two quarterbacks in Sam Darnold and Matthew Stafford, who at one point felt like they were neck and neck when we talk quality of MVP case. That gap is now oceans wide. Stafford is a minus 260 favorite. He has thrown 37 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. He very well tonight could get himself up to 4,000 passing yards. Sam Darnold entered into that football game having a solid, really, really strong year. Let me not downplay it. With that game included, over the last 5, Darnold has thrown 5 touchdowns and thrown 5 interceptions. Yeah, and you might say, oh, before those picks came in one game. Yeah, well, he's also not thrown a touchdown pass in 3 of the 5 games we're listing. Darnold's caliber of play since we entered into that Rams game has dropped off. And Darnold enters tonight with tons of questions around him because Sam Darnold in big games has only given us his worst since he last year became a starter in this league. The biggest games he played in last year were Week 18 in Detroit with the 1 seed on the line, funny enough, and the playoff game against the Rams. And I do not think it is a coincidence that his 3rd worst game was the revenge spot against the Jets, which was arguably his actual worst game overall. We then entered into this season, and Darnold left plenty to be desired week number 1 against San Francisco, was horrific, of course, against the Rams with the 4 interceptions. And I'm not going to ignore him also doing nothing against Minnesota in a revenge spot. One thing I will tell people for tonight's game is I think this is the least pressure Sam Darnold has had in a big game in his career. He can't play worse. He's not going to throw 4 picks. He's unlikely to throw multiple picks. And even if he does, that's still cutting the turnovers in half. I think the message to Darnold tonight for Mike McDonald, Coach of the Year candidate, is a pretty simple one. Don't worry about it. We're going to be fine. Just play within yourself. You don't need to win this game on your own. You don't need to go out there and throw for 350 and 4. Just be you. Be what you've been. And just, it's all good. Last go around, you threw 4 picks, we nearly won the game. You're going to be fine tonight, Sam. You're going to be fine. And I think that's the beauty of it all. Is Darnold goes into this, I don't have to win this game. I just can't lose this game. Those are different things. And I think it could set up here for Sam Darnold to meet the moment, all in all. And that'll be reflected in my best bet. We'll get to best bets in just a little bit, all right? I do want to at least acknowledge where else people might be looking here on a Thursday night. The NBA is back in a big way. The NBA Cup Final, of course, was on Tuesday. You did have a lighter Wednesday slate. Full card here tonight. One thing I did tweet out to the people, I'm going double fade of the 2 teams that played in the Cup Final. So that's the Knicks and the Spurs. The Spurs, huge favorites against Washington. The Knicks, light favorites against the Pacers. In the short history, teams coming off of playing in the Cup final, 1-3 against the number. Some of those close calls, both directions. Pacers won a game by 8 that they were 7-point favorites in. They get the cover. The Thunder won a game by 5 that I believe they were 6-point favorites in. They don't get the cover. I played them together. We could say, maybe we'll go 1-1. We'll live with the Jews. I'm looking to see if we have a trend that's going to really build. A trend that maybe not everybody knows right now, but everyone will know next year. Off the Cup final, fade those teams that play in the Cup final. Other big spots on this board, Luka and the Lakers back in action out in Utah. You've got the Oklahoma City Thunder off a loss, laying a monster number, 16 and a hook. And I think that's been a dropping number against the Clippers. We'll see if they can avoid consecutive losses. Couple of good ones late night. Denver hosts Orlando, laying 6.5. The Suns at home catch 2.5 from Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. Bowl action, just one game on the Thursday. It's the Xbox Bowl, Arkansas State and Missouri State. Looks like this line is maybe working back towards the Red Wolves here. I played the Missouri State Bears at what was a -104 money line price late yesterday. Looks like you can grab plus prices now on Missouri State, which is fine by me. I think we get the job done there. We got the job done yesterday with the Dogs. Looks like we're going to try to bark again here on the college football board. Let's get all the insight in this massive game next from Donnie Rightside right here on Game Time Decisions.
Interesting to see that Big 12. We keep talking about it. With Houston, with Iowa State, with Kansas, with BYU. They're going to be battle tested, but so is the rest of that league. And man, that is going to be fun to watch.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
If I told you 25 years ago that you could bet $1,000 on whether or not the Miami Dolphins would go 25 years without a playoff win, that probably would have returned 10 mil, if not more.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you could do that on Kalshi right now or on Polymarket right now and pick any team you want.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid. This season is about coming together, sharing moments.
We're going to go with the over tonight.
And celebrating what connects us. It's lighting the candles, gathering like a team, and finding joy in every night. 8 nights of tradition, 8 nights of celebration, 8 chances to shine. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions on a Thursday night. Let's get right to it, man. Donnie Rightside's here. Catch him Monday through Friday on the early line. And DRS, I'm sure all morning long you guys were excited to preview the Seahawks and the Rams. There's so many different ways we can attack this game. I just want to start from a side perspective. Yeah. Do you find yourself leaning? I saw you were in the sides market on Monday night. I'm wondering maybe a side for you here on Thursday night.
Yeah, and again, I couldn't have had a better start in that Monday Night Football game. Like, I'm going to go against the grain here and take the Miami Dolphins. They'll run the football, and all of a sudden they're up 3-0, and the bottom fell out, and the Steelers were the much better team, and the Dolphins are out of the playoffs now. But fast forward to tonight. I think this is a big game, but if we are just line readers here, Kevin, tonight, you're getting there like 35% of the tickets on Seattle. They were a underdog. Now they're the favorite. That is a stone-cold Seattle Seahawks line tonight, and that's where I said, if I'm betting any team tonight, won't be the Rams, it's Seattle, and it's a perfect scenario for me, Kevin. Build a home team or no team on a Thursday night, and you're giving me a public that's really decided that the Rams are going to win this game and reverse line movement? Yeah, come on, Seattle, let's go.
So here's the interesting thing then, DRS. I don't know where you land on the Rams relative to their pricing. Listen, I have no problem with anyone saying the Rams are the best team in football. Their price to win the Super Bowl, I think, is far too short. The interesting thing, though, is if this game goes the way you're talking about, I agree with you. I think Seattle's the side in this game. All of a sudden, I think these numbers come crashing down. Because if the Rams lose tonight, I do not think they will end up winning their division, whether it be Seattle or San Francisco. What do you make of the Rams not only as Super Bowl favorites, but pretty comfortable Super Bowl favorites?
I think if you go pound for pound when they're healthy, Kevin, they are the best team in football. Fantastic head coach, which calls the plays. Fantastic defense that'll get after the passer. Great offensive line. Solid at the tight end position. Top-level wide receivers. And a two-headed monster now all of a sudden at running back. I do think it is. But also, the key to that is they need to be home in a dome to play, which would be interesting how it plays out tonight. But also, Kevin, flip it over to the other side with the Seattle Seahawks and what this means for them. I think we don't give enough respect to Seattle, what they've done on the season. Maybe it's a team in the Pacific Northwest you don't pay a lot of attention to. And, it's the Sam Darnold, a quarterback I don't really know too much about other than JSN on offense. Understand this. They will catapult, in my mind tonight, with a victory over the Los Angeles Rams as serious Super Bowl contenders, which I haven't thought of for the past couple weeks here. But the same thing goes for the Rams. You go down Devontae Adams in this game on the road in one of those hostile environments in football and come away with a victory, they're going to end up winning that division, and they're going to get that number one seed. This is such a pivotal game. It's fantastic that they're playing this on a Thursday night standalone. We can pay attention to it because the winner of this game, Kevin, I think will be the number one overall seed in the NFC, and the pathway to the Super Bowl absolutely is there.
So this is the interesting one, and I was tweeting about it. I know you're not very high on the team, but the situation, Donnie, for San Francisco, they tonight are rooting their faces off for Seattle. And if we see the Seahawks win tonight, they will then play on an extra rest going to Carolina. We know Carolina isn't a walkover, but the Seattle Seahawks would be maybe touchdown favorites in the football game, especially if they beat the Rams. Which means if San Francisco can win their next two games, a Monday night against Phillip Rivers and a Sunday night at home against the Chicago Bears, Week 18 is in San Francisco for the number one seed. The Niners, my biggest thing, Donnie, is I'm not guaranteeing you San Francisco wins Week 18. Yeah. But what I am saying is if the Rams don't win tonight, they're going to be a wild card team.
No, you're right about it. And also, the San Francisco 49ers, you did give them a lot of credit. There's a lot of injuries there. They're winning games. But when we joke about, like, Notre Dame's schedule, they're playing San Francisco the equivalent of Notre Dame's final 10 games of the season. Layup after layup, bum quarterback after bum quarterback. So if you are, from an NFC perspective, we're Eagles fans here, right? Okay, they're not going to get the number one overall seed. You are begging somehow, if you don't get the number one seed, it's the 49ers. Because I'm going to guarantee you this right now, Kevin. The NFC Championship game, if the Niners are the number one seed, will not be in San Francisco. They're getting bounced the minute they take the field in the playoffs, and that could open up for the number 2 and 3 seeds in the NFC.
Yeah, I'm much higher on San Francisco than you, Donnie. This team, I understand how injured they are defensively, but that's been the case for a long time. And Robert Saleh's obviously shown to be, at minimum, an excellent defensive coordinator, and they do come with pedigree, right? I know we don't view Brock Purdy as one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, but this core in San Francisco have won an NFC championship, have been in multiple NFC championships. Kyle Shanahan himself has won this conference multiple times. And listen, we've seen one seeds get bounced. We saw last year a one seed in Detroit get bounced. But DRS, it's just remarkable to me that San Francisco is right now 20-1. If they're the one seed, that does get cut in half. Again, cash or not, that's interesting. It gets cut in half. Can I throw another NFC scenario at you, though, DRS? Because this is one that popped up to me the other day. And it doesn't feel crazy to me. I don't know where you're at on Bears-Packers Saturday. But if Chicago wins that game, all of a sudden Green Bay missing the playoffs is on the board. The layout for Green Bay to miss the postseason is for them to lose to the Bears, lose one of their final two then remaining games, which is against the Ravens and Vikings. Vikings playing better. And all that has to happen is the Lions win out. And the Lions are going to be favored in those final three games, DRS. It's crazy to say. We look at this NFC, right? We entered into last Sunday, Donnie, the three best teams for everybody. Green Bay, Seattle, and the Rams. We may end up with two of them as wild card teams and the third one not even in the postseason.
Yeah, this might come down. And again, it's a great talk because Chicago is one of those teams we're entering into the season. Let's see what Ben Johnson does with a young quarterback that doesn't quite have his system down yet. Well, it looks like they're rounding in the form as, you know what? We're going to run the football. We're going to be successful, and our quarterback's going to make some plays. Sort of like what you saw in Detroit. Get that ground game going. Worry about the passing game a little bit later. Now, understand this. I do think Green Bay goes into Chicago and beats them on Saturday night. Here's the key indicator. If Josh Jacobs does play in this game, and it looks like Watson's going to play as well, that's huge because, yes, you lose Parsons. That's still a really good defense. And understand this from a Bears perspective. Green Bay can stop the run. You're down two of your best three pass catchers on the outside, which leaves you just with Moore and a couple young tight ends. They're going to struggle moving the football. I think Green Bay still has that pedigree. And also, the public looking at this game, Kevin, about 65% of the tickets on the Bears here. I disagree. I think the Packers are the better team in this game. I think they win on Saturday night.
I think that Micah Parsons injury is one of those things that we're all going to talk about, but rightfully so. He was, at worst, the third best defensive player in football this year, and that's a big loss. Still a lot to get to. We keep our guy DRS around. We'll be back right here on SportsGrid.
Interesting to see in that Big 12. We keep talking about it. With Houston, with Iowa State, with Kansas, with BYU. They're going to be battle tested, but so is the rest of that league. And man, that is going to be fun to watch.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
If I told you 25 years ago that you could bet $1,000 on whether or not the Miami Dolphins would go 25 years without a playoff win, that probably would have returned 10 mil, if not more.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you could do that on Kalshi right now or on Polymarket right now and pick any team you want.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid. This season is about coming together, sharing moments.
We're going to go with the over tonight.
And celebrating what connects us. It's lighting the candles, gathering like a team, and finding joy in every night. 8 nights of tradition, 8 nights of celebration, 8 chances to shine. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
All right, back with you right here on SportsGrid. At the top of the hour, we'll do best bets and touchdown scores. I will let people know in the NBA tonight, we mentioned the fade the cup parlay with the Pacers and the Wizards against the number. I'm also going to play Jalen Johnson over 40.5 points, rebounds, and assists. And if you scream, Trae Young's back. Exactly. We're getting a better number on Jalen Johnson. I think he can score 30 in this game. He's due for a bounce back scoring the basketball-wise. I don't think Trae Young is just going to come back and be like, cool, thanks, Jalen, for being incredible, triple-double every game. It's now my team. we'll see that. We're joined by a premier NBA capper.
Yeah.
In good old Donnie Rightside there. DRS may not watch the NBA, but he sure loves betting the NBA.
We were on a hot streak. And yesterday, Kevin, how about the sharp line move yesterday? The Timberwolves under, which opened up at like 236.5, crashed 10 points by game time. Ooh. We gave it on at 233.5 on the show. By the time you got to game time, it was like 226.5, something like that. So that one stayed under the total. That was a lot of fun to watch out. But tonight, those Trailblazers, Kevin, as a heavy favorite, get out of town. My dad would say it's too many points. No, it's not. We're laying 8.5. Let's go. We're laying it.
So we'll get back to the NFL. I wanted to ask you, because this is just stuff that I know you love. The Eagles, Donnie, can repeat as NFC East champions with a victory against the Washington Commanders. They are touchdown favorites. They are expected to do so. What I'm actually interested in is their following game against Buffalo, where I'm pretty sure if they lose, they'll have nothing to play for in Week 18. Is Donnie Rightside already ready to put the Josh Allen game on jersey on Week 17 and root for an Eagles pseudo-bye come Week 18?
It works out in your favor, but also, Kevin, you know as well as I do, you don't want to give that guy Tanner McKee Week 18 out there on the field to slice and dice the defense with the backups, and everybody say we should go with a hot hand at quarterback. It wasn't too long ago where it's like, hey, start Nate Sudfeld in 17, not Nick Foles because he's bad and wound up winning a Super Bowl. Yeah, that didn't work out all that well, but you're right about that, Kevin. Sometimes wins and losses fall in your favor. The biggest thing you can do is have a rested and ready football team, and understand this from an Eagles perspective. The best offensive lineman and maybe the best player on the Eagles, honestly, is Lane Johnson. An extra week to prepare for the playoffs to get him back. Hey, Jalen Carter, make sure you're 100% healthy. Can you imagine the Eagles off a pseudo-bye in Week 18 as, let's just say, the 3 seed in the NFC, getting back a healthy Lane Johnson with the entire starting lineup intact? That's something to look forward to, Kevin. So maybe, rooting for Buffalo in Week 17. Crazy thought. Just might happen.
But I will say, to bring it back to our game tonight, and so I bet Cincinnati before the year to win the Super Bowl. Obviously, it all fell apart. I'm, looking around. I think the most dangerous and potentially profitable version of the Rams, Donnie, is a group who knows in Week 18 we can't win the division. Let's just take the bye week and add a wild card. We could get maybe, again, I don't know if it would move this much. We get 8-9 to 1 on off-bye wild card Rams.
Yes.
Hopefully this isn't on in the house, Donnie. Playing the NFC South winner. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be, that's when the Rams get interesting. Not this under 4-1 LA, who's a dog tonight in Seattle.
Yeah, so what you're saying is you go home and raise that fist. They're like, ooh, Tampa looks good this week, don't they? And in the back of my mind, you go, yeah, they look really good for next week's game. I hear what you're saying, but I'm really excited for the playoffs to come up because I do think there are some teams, even in the AFC, that you need to watch out for. But the NFC, again, lying in wait on some of those teams with some good profits. And it might sound like, well, Donnie, of course you're an Eagles fan. I'm telling you right now, if the Eagles win this game, they get healthy for the playoffs. Who's won the tangle with the Eagles once you get into the playoffs, home or away at that point with a fully healthy team? Because, Kevin, you pointed out many times on your shows, when Lane Johnson is in versus out, that's a complete, hey, maybe Saquon actually can run into the line of scrimmage without getting decked for once he gets back.
Yeah, listen, the Eagles, I love. The Eagles win 31-0. It's the Raiders. They literally the week before played the number 1 seed in the AFC, and it was a 7-point game at final. Fine, 10-point game. It wasn't 31-0. And don't tell me Geno Smith is much better than Kenny Pickett, if better at all. Let me just sneak this in, Donnie. Do you feel strong about someone winning the college football playoff as we are going to have our first game tomorrow?
Yeah, because, again, we do a lot of prediction stuff, Kevin. It's like, what's the outset where you don't actually have to win the championship but could make some money? Kevin, I love Texas Tech's draw. I love Texas Tech's draw. Get me to the final, and that will be an unbelievably profitable ticket because I just see that pathway. You look at the bottom of that bracket, good luck, man. Murderer's row. Like, Miami wants to win a national championship? Holy moly, man. Good luck with that.
Yeah, I tell you what, who wouldn't have needed luck and would instead been booked as about a 2-point dog?
They would have lost right off the bat. By the way, Love wouldn't even have played. He's going to the NFL. He's not even playing.
You know what's tough, Donnie? I'll be honest with you. Some of us Notre Dame faithful thought he might come back. We thought he might come back.
Freeman to the Giants. It's over in Notre Dame. It's over.
We're going to talk to Brady Cannon and best bets after the break on.
interesting to see in that Big 12. We keep talking about it. With Houston, with Iowa State, with Kansas, with BYU. They're going to be battle tested, but so is the rest of that league. And man, that is going to be fun to watch.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
If I told you 25 years ago that you could bet $1,000 on whether or not the Miami Dolphins would go 25 years without a playoff win, that probably would have returned 10 mil, if not more.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you could do that on Kalshi right now or on Polymarket right now and pick any team you want.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid. This season is about coming together, sharing moments,
We're going to go with the over tonight.
and celebrating what connects us. It's lighting the candles, gathering like a team, and finding joy in every night. 8 nights of tradition, 8 nights of celebration, 8 chances to shine. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Live on SportsGrid, it is game time decisions. We want to start by putting best bets on the board. I will just let you know NBA-wise with some 7-10 tips on Jalen Johnson over 40.5 points, rebounds, and assists. And then the Fade the Cup parlay, Pacers plus 5.5, Wizards plus 16. We do have, though, crew best bets here tonight. AJ's going to play the under. Yarnell's going to play the over. That's an out-of-office special. I don't think either guy knows about the head-to-head that we have seen from them, but you got to respect it there. One man will come out the victor due to the hook. Chris is going to take the dog. Wow. Shout out to the fellas going pretty straightforward here. Total and sides. Chris is going to play the Rams on the money line there. Interestingly enough, kind of it all depends on the company you keep. I haven't heard a lot of people like the Rams. I know everybody likes the Rams, you know, but it depends who you talk to. I like Sam Darnold over 1.5 passing touchdowns. The Rams have given up 26 touchdowns this year, 21 passing, 5 rushing. Darnold did not throw any touchdowns last week. A nice bounce-back spot for Darnold here at home in Seattle. Let's get some more insight on this one from our guy, Brady Cannon. Brady, always great to talk to you. Sometimes we get to do it on the night of an interesting game. We do it on the night of maybe the biggest game so far this NFL season. What are you thinking? What are maybe you even hearing around town with the Rams and the Seahawks?
Well, you know, I think it's probably the best 2 teams in football. You could certainly argue that. I would have to believe that everybody that I know has these teams 1 and 2 in maybe different order of, you know, their power ratings. Obviously, it's the same season rematch, revenge situation for Seattle. They get them on their turf this time. We saw the line move towards the Seattle Seahawks. I made it 1 in favor of the Rams, and that's where the books posted it as well. And now we've seen it go to Seattle as high as -1.5. Not a whole lot of difference. You know this, Kevin. Not a whole lot of difference with this team being favored by 1 or that team being favored by 1. But I think I agree with where the money has gone. I do believe Seattle will even this same series or same season series and get the victory tonight. I doubt if Devontae Adams will play. I don't know if there's been any official word on that. And I don't think he's necessarily worth I mean, maybe he's worth a half a point. I don't know if he's worth a full point. I don't know if he affects the point spread, but I do believe he affects the Rams offense. He has been so good for this team down in the red zone. And I think that's tough to replace. When I crunch all my numbers, I still come out with the Rams by 1, but I do believe the situation benefits Seattle. And Kevin, you touched on Sam Darnold. I like the stats you're throwing out there with the passing touchdowns versus the rushing. I really think the game probably comes down to him. Do we get good Sam Darnold or do we get bad Sam Darnold? And if we get good Sam Darnold, I think the Seattle Seahawks win this one.
Yeah, I find myself leaning towards Seattle as well. I expect them to win. Brady knows this, that the difference between 1.5 may not matter, but he also knows it always matters to me, and I can be a bit of a pest about it. And if this was 1.5 the other way, I'd probably be like, yep, give me Seattle, but I'm not betting them at minus 120 against a team who's half the number to win the Super Bowl. It's been bet accordingly towards Seattle, and I'm fine to play the Sam Darnold number that I'm going to play here in this spot. The really interesting thing, though, Brady, that you mentioned is I may not agree with it, but the perception that these are the two best teams in football. And I wonder how that looks coming out of this game. And that if the Rams win, they're going to be perceived to be, I think, in their own category of football team. And they may already be. If Seattle wins, do they become the number one team for some power ratings? If the Rams look dominant in this game, does Seattle drop a little bit in those power ratings? Because I know people will say you don't want to move it too much, and that's fair, but also Seattle has a lot to prove here, I think you could argue, within this game, especially a Thursday night at home, closing as favorites.
Yeah, and first of all, I kind of believe that the Detroit Lions and the Rams are the best two teams in football. The problem with the Lions is they're very injured. And we saw them even last week, with all the injuries that they have, they still put up a good fight and actually did not cover that number, came within a half a point or so of the number against the Rams. But I think at full strength, Detroit's as good as anybody and better than Seattle. If Seattle wins this game by a field goal, like, maybe we expect or the odds makers expect or the market expects, I don't think they leapfrog the Rams. They're supposed to do that at home. And the odds are telling you that they're supposed to do this. You're certainly not dropping the Rams. If the Rams blow them out, maybe you do drop Seattle. But, I mean, who do you put in their place? Does Detroit move up? Do the Bills move up? Do the Packers move? The Packers obviously no longer have Micah Parsons. So, I think there's a lot of question marks as who would be, moving into that role. And I think there's probably a handful of teams that we can argue about as to who are the best 2 or 3 teams in the NFL. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with the Rams. And I hear you talking about Seattle, but I think numbers wise, stats wise, these are clearly the 2 best teams in the NFL.
My only thing here's my issue with Seattle, though, in that there's no way people actually think this team has the second best chance to win the Super Bowl. Like, I'm sorry, we've all watched the NFL for much longer than this. It's like, but look how dominant. Yes, they did just destroy Max Brosmer and 45-year-old Phillip Rivers and the Tennessee Titans, who are one of the worst teams we've ever seen. I mean, come on, right? Like, I think some of the numbers, Brady, just still have not been able to catch up to not overweighing destroying bad teams. That was the MO of the Detroit Lions last year. And then they got punched in the mouth in their first playoff game. I'm sorry. If Seattle goes to Philly in round 1, which is on the board, and get booked as favorites, there's no way that doesn't get bet the other way. There's just absolutely no way that happens in my eyes, Brady.
Don't disagree with you at all. I said it a while ago that, the Jacksonville Jaguars and the New England Patriots and the Denver Broncos, all these guys that are kind of new to the party, Drake May, Bo Nix, Trevor Lawrence, I still, and this is prior to the injury, I still favor the old guard, the Patrick Mahomes and the Josh Allen and the Jared Goff and the guys that have been there and done that. And I still kind of feel that way. If Detroit gets healthy, look out. I think that team is a monster. I mean, even missing Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown for a couple games and injuries on their offensive line. The secondary's been beat up for months. Even with all that, they're still considered one of the best teams in the NFL. So if they're able to get healthy in time, again, like I say, I think it's the Rams and the Lions in my book that are the best two teams. But you're totally, and it's not just Seattle going into Philadelphia, and if they're booked as a favorite, absolutely the market is going to hammer the Eagles. I think it's more about Sam Darnold and postseason experience. The defense is really good. The coach is still a little green. He's never really had any postseason experience. The running backs are the entire team is solid, but it's like I talked about with this game. It's about Darnold, and there's still uncertainty with him. If he lays an egg tonight, wow, I think that puts a lot of questions in people's heads about this team going forward.
I think the interesting thing, though, is where I'm sure some people are like, oh, Kev, they don't book it just based on quarterbacks. The Broncos and the Bills have the same exact Super Bowl number. Denver's a huge favorite to be the 1 seed, and Buffalo is still a considerable dog to not be a wild card team. That's all just Josh Allen versus Bo Nix pricing. So, again, to justify the Seattle number, you have to think the other 52 are the best 52 in football, and then, it's Darnold is Darnold. And I'll tell you right now, I think Darnold plays well tonight, and everyone overreacts and crowns him, and then the playoffs start, and you go, right, all the other evidence that said this. Yeah, it would be perfect. Let's ask Brady about some of the other action this weekend right here after the break on Game Time Decisions.
Interesting to see in that Big 12. We keep talking about it. With Houston, with Iowa State, with Kansas, with BYU. They're going to be battle tested, but so is the rest of that league. And man, that is going to be fun to watch.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
If I told you 25 years ago that you could bet $1,000 on whether or not the Miami Dolphins would go 25 years without a playoff win, that probably would have returned 10 mil, if not more.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you could do that on Kalshi right now or on Polymarket right now and pick any team you want.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid. This season is about coming together, sharing moments.
We're going to go with the over tonight.
And celebrating what connects us. It's lighting the candles, gathering like a team, and finding joy in every night. 8 nights of tradition, 8 nights of celebration, 8 chances to shine. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Live on SportsGrid, Game Time Decisions. We're checking in with Brady Cannon, taking a look around some of the interesting spots this NFL Saturday and Sunday. There's a couple of interesting ones, Brady, that I want to ask you about. I want to know if any of these games are really starting to look appetizing to you. I'll start, though, with the Tua to Quinn Ewers move, because the books have made a strong move that I kind of agree with, but it makes this whole thing so odd. Tua's been bad. They say, all right, we're going to go to Quinn Ewers to give us a better chance to win. And the books are saying, you just got a field goal worse, which we know is a pretty sizable move. What have you done with Miami and Cincinnati?
I think this is a good spot for Miami. I mean, you've got the Cincinnati Bengals, of all people, as a road favorite. Come on, I don't care who's playing quarterback. The other thing about the Miami Dolphins is it really hasn't been about Tua for the last, 6 weeks since we've seen this turnaround. Since they came back from London, this team has really turned it around. I think the coaches have recommitted themselves. They quit worrying about their jobs and they started worrying about the team. And they've gone away from the Tua and Jalen Waddle show, and they've turned it into a rushing attack, the Devon Achane attack. And it's worked, and it won them a lot of football games. Now we have this impression in our minds that they were awful on Monday night in 18-degree weather when they never play well against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And, and then Mike McCarthy, or McDaniel rather, makes the change. I think, a change like that is good. That kind of puts everybody on alert. Like, wow, if Tua's not safe, then why are we safe? And I think this elevates this team. And you have a perfect pancake to take it out on here in the Cincinnati Bengals. That defense is still pathetic. Joe Burrow doesn't play defense. They were shut out by the Baltimore Ravens last week. Now, there is some things that, teams that have, been shut out, they typically respond the next week. But I don't see Cincinnati as a 4-point favorite here. And most of all, because of the situation for Miami, and also because whoever's there at quarterback, it's still, I believe, going to be a rushing attack that is featured for this offense and not a passing attack.
There's another quarterback change, which is Mahomes to Gardner Minshew. There's a lot, I feel, narratively that can kind of impact how anyone is perceiving this game. It looks, mostly like this line's going to be around 3 here, Brady. Maybe this will end up being a game you don't want to get involved with, but what are you looking for right now?
Looks like that line might go to 3.5. There's a lot of strong threes out there. And in the Circa Sports Million contest, this is pretty telling. Those lines come out at 10 a.m. today, 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays. They hung 3.5 in their contest because I think they think that is where it's headed. And currently at Circa, they're not at 3.5. But again, it's a juiced 3. So I think they're anticipating that the market is going to go that way. And I'm not sure if I could agree more, Kevin. I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs is a 3-point road favorite in Nashville. Again, I don't care who's at quarterback. I think this is a little bit of the fallen hero. You talk about narrative. I think there's a lot of storylines here. Patrick Mahomes goes down. Obviously, he's the hero. The rest of the team is going to step up. They know they have to make up for that loss. They've been knocked out of the playoffs, and everybody is just writing this team off for dead. How successful has this team been the last decade or so? This is competitive pride here. You think Andy Reid's going to let his team lose to the Tennessee Titans? I don't think so. I think this could be just a whooping by the Kansas City Chiefs on a bad Tennessee Titans team. I'll lay the points here with Kansas City.
Yeah, I have a very similar read on the game. I am hopeful that Hook does not return. As I usually wait as the week goes on, but maybe I'll have to act quicker than not in this one. Especially, I think what you said just about the fallen hero theory. I do not think those guys are going to let Mahomes tear his ACL and then they don't show up the next week. It just does not feel
competitive pride. Like I said, no, I just don't see it happening. This team's too good. This organization's too good. Their head coach is too good. Yeah, I think
they'd shut guys down, right? They just would. Brady, I want to ask you about a number that I'm not surprised by, but it is a little jarring, which is the 4-10 New Orleans Saints being 5.5-point favorites. We saw how much respect they got against Carolina. The Panthers needed the game, were off by, and that thing stayed under 3 for the most part. But, man, it still is quite a lot to see New Orleans laying 5.5 hook.
It's huge. And I think there's still some 4s out there, maybe some 5s, but you're right. It's gone all the way to 5.5. Who knows if it'll come back? Maybe it won't. But I could only play the Jets here, Kevin. You know, both of these teams have been pretty good for the last month or so. The Jets have won a few games. Ever since they got rid of Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams, I talked about, benching Tua and putting the rest of the Miami Dolphins on alert. I think that put the rest of the New York Jets on alert, that, hey, nobody's job is safe around here. And I think Aaron Glenn got the attention of his team, and they've won a couple games since that move. And now, because you got blown out by the Jacksonville Jaguars, you're a 5-point dog to the New Orleans Saints. And I know they've got a couple wins in a row, and they're playing good football. And let's give credit to Kellen Moore and Dennis Allen and that staff. They're doing a great job, but they're still not a very good football team. Yeah. And the Jets aren't great, but they're playing with effort. And so, yeah, I think, when I crunch all my numbers and everything, I come to New Orleans by 2. Not 5 or 5.5. Interesting game here. I might find myself on the New York Jets with the points. Haven't done it yet, but that's certainly the direction I would go.
Yeah, it's such an interesting spot because, again, when you do it week to week to week to week, of course, like we do, like I think a lot of our audience does, it's jarring to see if you follow the Saints season, but like last week's number, they are in on this New Orleans team to close the year. And that does not mean they can't get got here by the Jets. That absolutely, I think it's a lot of emotion for the Saints are still a bad team to have 2 consecutive wins against their division in Carolina and Tampa. I think that takes a lot out of them, right? But
now they're playing out of conference against a team they're very, they shouldn't be laying 5.5 in my opinion.
Yeah, I think maybe this team, again, but the funny thing is they close after the Jets, the Titans, and the Falcons. It's like someone won 7 games. All right, we're going to be right back here on Sports Grid. It's Game Time Decisions.
Interesting to see in that Big 12. We keep talking about it. With Houston, with Iowa State, with Kansas, with BYU. They're going to be battle tested, but so is the rest of that league. And man, that is going to be fun to watch.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
If I told you 25 years ago that you could bet $1,000 on whether or not the Miami Dolphins would go 25 years without a playoff win, that probably would have returned 10 mil, if not more.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you could do that on Kalshi right now or on Polymarket right now and pick any team you want.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid. This season is about coming together, sharing moments.
We're going to go with the over tonight.
And celebrating what connects us. It's lighting the candles, gathering like a team, and finding joy in every night. 8 nights of tradition, 8 nights of celebration, 8 chances to shine. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Back right here on SportsGrid, it is Game Time Decisions. I want to, again, we're back with Brady Cannon, and Brady's been doing this a long time, so sometimes, especially for someone like myself, when I'm trying to think something out, I'd love to be able to throw it at someone like Brady. So, Brady, the AFC North, we know, is going to come down to either Baltimore and Pittsburgh, and the fascinating thing is these teams play one another in Week 18. And there's a pretty chalky scenario that leads to that being all that matters, which is Detroit beating Pittsburgh on Sunday and Baltimore beating New England on Sunday night. And if that happens, Week 17 literally does not matter to either of those football teams. Again, you can say, oh, you want to keep momentum, whatever you want to say, but the game does not impact either team's potential standings or anything of that nature. There's no wild card hopes, right, that we're talking about here. So here's my question a little bit, Brady, because we are at this point in the season. We also have Week 17 lines available. And the Lions and Ravens to win is plus 114. The Packers are -3 and minus 164 on the money line for a Sunday night game against the Baltimore Ravens. My interest, though, is getting ahead of it and playing Green Bay. Because Green Bay can win that game whether the Ravens are playing guys or not. They're at home. They'll have an extra day of rest, right? But I think the Ravens, with Lamar's health and question marks, are wildly incentivized to take a gift money buy if they are granted it and set everything up for Week 18. And Brady, if Green Bay ends up hosting Tyler Huntley and Keaton Mitchell instead of Lamar and Derrick Henry, I might sound nuts. I think that could be a 10-point spread that the books are hanging available right now.
I hear you loud and clear, man. I think you make a great point, and I didn't even know of that situation. I might run to the window here as soon as we finish up the segment. But and I think Green Bay could still have a lot to play for. You know,
yes.
You've got the game with Chicago this week. You've got the Lions, still scratching and clawing to get into the dance. They may have more at stake than the Baltimore Ravens do. And I'm telling you, anytime after Thanksgiving that you're at Lambeau Field, that is a tough place to play. And I know the Ravens play outdoors and they play in some weather, but so do the Chicago Bears. And we saw Green Bay beat them and cover the number. What was it, last week or the week before? So that home field advantage up there when we get to this time of the year is huge. It's bigger than it is in September and October for sure. So yeah, I'm with you. I don't think that sounds like a bad play at all. And I don't know if this is going to be a fly in the ointment, but I'm not so sure Baltimore is going to win this Sunday against the Patriots. I kind of like the New England side there.
So this is kind of the reason why I bring it up the way I do, because someone might say, well, why don't you just bet the Ravens and the Lions? My worst case scenario is I just have a Packers money line bet against Baltimore, who needs the game, but is obviously not playing all that well.
I'd favor that side anyway, right? No matter what happens. Yeah. So, I think it's a very good bet. Again, I don't know how it would affect the situation if Baltimore was to lose this week. But regardless, I like the position there. Laying a field goal against the Ravens seems cheap to me.
Now this is the overarching thing that I'm struggling with, is there are two teams right now who are not projected to make the postseason in both Baltimore and Detroit. That I know you feel this way about Detroit. I would throw Baltimore in. If they're in, they're very tempting, right? Because there's a level of talent and they're used to playing in the playoffs and you're getting these really good numbers. And it's sometimes we say, hey, listen, we'll wait it out. We'll take a cheaper number. But the gap in the Lions right now are 27-1 to win a Super Bowl. That number, there's a chance, Brady. I was going through this. The Lions could win the division. It's not.
Yeah.
And it's not an insane thing that needs to take place for them to win the division. Like the Baltimore Ravens, if they win that division, which is the only way they get in, all of a sudden it's a home playoff game, right? For Lamar Jackson. Like the situations that are still out there are super, super interesting, and I'm excited to watch them all play out.
Well, I would be inclined to bet the Lions, and I don't think those are bad plays right now because, if they get in the dance, those numbers are long gone. And like I've said, I think that team is really, really good. There's probably some players they're not going to get back that are done for the year, but if they get a few back, this team can beat anybody in the league. They can probably beat anybody in the league right now with all these injuries. Don't know if I'd back Baltimore, but I'm with you on Detroit.
Great stuff as always from Brady Cannon. We've got Mike Blewett on deck right here. Game Time Decisions. I'm just saying, if I were a good NFL head coach, if I were a hot offensive coordinator, and that coaching cycle's going to come around, and they're like, hey, do you want the Giants job? Or do you want the Michigan job? I think the Michigan job is much better.
Game Time Decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
You ain't buying no tickets.
Who isn't?
You're not going to
I'm
these
saying I'm a
games.
fan. Of course I'm not. That's a fan. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, but if you were a fan, I thought you were a fan of the Hurricanes. You're not
That guy,
anymore.
they told me.
They
I
smashed
told them
you.
to donate my tickets.
Yeah, so I get it. But the fans travel. They have money, believe it or not. It's amazing.
Look,
somebody's
in this
got
economy,
money.
in this economy,
But they have money. I don't know. See what Kelsey says about the economy.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Look, the trend continues to go to Blake Corum. He's still available. I can't believe he's still available. So if you have Kyron Williams, you got to have Blake Corum on your roster. And if you don't have Kyron Williams, I think you still want Blake Corum on your roster. You got to have these insurance policies on your roster at the very least. Even in a shallow league, if Blake Corum's floating out there, don't let him float out there. The last thing you want to have happen is for him to end up on some other team and then taking you the next couple weeks to win a championship.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
They went all in with the Sauce Gardner trade, right? All in. You get a couple of number one picks here. Then Daniel Jones breaks the leg. And then he tears the Achilles. All right? You're signing Phillip Rivers. Are you kidding me? I mean, by the way, you know what hasn't been talked about enough? Sam Ellinger decided he didn't want to come play for the Colts. Why? You would have been. I know Denver activated him to the roster anyway, but he would have been maybe a starting quarterback this weekend.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Game Time Decisions live on SportsGrid. It is a Thursday night. You are in for a treat. Let me just say, though, all right, and I think this is telling that I just was reminded of family in the midst of this situation here with our next guest. A happy birthday to my brother Ryan. How about that? We celebrated it. We brought it in at midnight, playing a little Fortnite. I was carrying the team. No, I wasn't. I'm terrible. Basically a family member. Mike Blewett is here with us on this Thursday. Mike, always great to see you, my man. We got a lot to get into.
Happy birthday to Ryan. How about that? Maybe take that guy down to Woodhaven Boulevard to Barossa for a nice meal. Rego Park, excellent place. Went there last week. Right around the block from where you grew up, Kev. Yes, I was there last week.
Wow, all right. How about that? I mean, what an honor really for Woodhaven Boulevard. Not enough people clearly were letting me know there. So usually they send off alerts like Mike Blewett's in town. Mike, we got to talk Seahawks Rams here, obviously. Just let's start with the side. We can get into totals. We can get into props. Do you like a side here on Thursday night?
I certainly can see it going either way. And as much as I want to talk myself into how good the Seahawks have been defensively, I just have to go with the Rams. I think they're the best team in football. It obviously won't surprise me if they lose because the Seahawks aren't that far behind. But I think the Rams are just playing a better brand of football more consistently. The Seahawks offense is waning a little bit. They didn't play great at all against the Colts, who I give the Colts a lot of credit. I think they played a really good football game and came up just short. But the Seahawks offense is worrying me, and I think the Rams will best them. And the 1.5 is exactly where I'm going.
So I am not playing Seattle. I think Seattle does win this football game, but I don't think you're wrong to call out how the Seahawks offense has looked in recent weeks. The grace that I could offer them is these last 4 games. I mean, my gosh.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Cam Ward and the Titans, Max Brosmer and the Vikings, Kirk Cousins and the Falcons, Phil Rivers and the Colts. I mean, power rank those opponents. I mean, right now, do they all line up as dogs going, if they played New Orleans? Certainly Minnesota with Brosmer. This is a different cat. They've not played a game like this since they've played the Rams. They've played nothing like this since they played the Rams, and you have to wonder if this is such a big game for Seattle, and I think they can meet that moment. And I've offered up this take, Mike, about your guy, Sam Darnold. Yeah. I think this is the least pressure he has in a big game that he's played in, because I think he knows he cannot possibly play worse than he did last go-around. And I think the messaging to Sam is, hey, you're fine, man. We're fine. You just go out there, you play your game, all right? The game will come to you. This isn't on you. It's not all. We're going to be fine. We're a team. We're good. Last go-around was 4 picks. You could cut that in half, and we're good, Sam. You're set up. I think there should be, and that's kind of what I'm betting on. I played his over 1.5 passing touchdowns, Mike. I think Darnold is in this weird pressure-free monster game. I think he's good tonight.
I like where your head is at with that, because I can't remember which defender it was that came out after that 4-interception game and put his backing behind Darnold. He said, Sam's our quarterback, so what? He had a bad game. We're behind him. And I appreciated that, and I think it speaks to why they're successful, at least in some regard, why they're successful this season. You're right, they haven't played a lot of quality offenses. There's a really interesting stat I was taking a look at today and in the run-up to this game. It's that the Rams are so good in the first half. Frankly, both offenses are really good in the first half. And against Seattle last time out, 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. We had a 23-point first half. The Rams team total in the first half tonight, 10.5. It's unusually low considering they score 17 points a game in the first half. However, Seattle only lets up 7.5 points per game to opposing offenses. So that's why it's depressed so much, and it's being bet to the under. I'm actually going to go against the movement on this. I think the Rams get over 10.5 in the first half, Kev, and you get it at plus money. So doesn't necessarily mean the Rams win the game, but give me a touchdown and 2 field goals or a couple of touchdowns, same output as last game, and I'll take that one. And I like the first half total in general, which is 20.5.
So, if they get there, right, if they win the game, the idea is Stafford probably plays pretty well. I would say if they win the game, there is no way he is bad enough to lose his spot as the favorite. And again, I think it is very likely that if he wins tonight, Stafford would almost clinch league MVP. I really believe that.
It's a wrap, I think. Yeah, I think it's a wrap.
I don't know what happens if he loses, though, Mike. Yeah. Because now, look, I played Josh Allen, I guess at this point, maybe a month ago to win MVP at around plus 550. But I really think Drake May is done. I think he is sandwiched in between the 2 actual contenders, which is Stafford or Josh. And I had initially thought that in order for Josh Allen to win this award, he was going to have to win his division. But I don't feel that way anymore because it is narrative-driven. And the thing about Josh Allen that he has going for him is everybody thinks he is the best quarterback in the world. And I'm not saying they're wrong, but that's what it is. And the numbers will be there. We know that. I think Josh is going to have to win out. But if Stafford drops this game tonight, Mike, I think Josh is live. I'm really not buying Drake May in the MVP race.
I know where your head is at. I have to keep the door open for him, though, because Stafford drops tonight, and the Bills drop that game to your Philadelphia Eagles next week. Mm-hmm. It means that Drake May, and say Drake May rips off his final 3 games, right? They'll finish at 14-3, the Pats will. And he will have won the division with potentially the best record in football. So, yeah, it needs a couple of things to go his way. I think Stafford could go, if he wins tonight, he could even drop another game, go 2-1, win that division 13-4. I think Stafford wins the MVP, but which goes back to your original point. Stafford wins tonight, he's the MVP of the league, most likely. You have to leave the door open. I guess if he lost the last two, then it gets confusing. But we saw this last year. Josh Allen won the big games right up until week 15. And even though Lamar was on a crazy run and chased down the Steelers, and by season's end, their numbers were comparable. You could have made a really great case for Lamar. The hay was already in the barn for Josh Allen. I didn't think any of those late season bets on Lamar was smart. I just thought it was wasted money. And I would think that tonight about any other bets other than Stafford if he wins.
So here's where I totally agree with Mike. I would not bet Josh today. I bet Josh before they lost to the Texans, right? So again, the result, it was all bad. What I think works against Drake May is what nobody actually thinks Drake May has had a better season than Matt Stafford. Even if Stafford drops this game, Josh being Josh, right? Like, he is the now with Mahomes injured and missing the playoffs. I think the consensus best quarterback in football. And he, the total touchdown stuff always works in his favor. Like, he has 12 less passing touchdowns than Stafford and the same amount of total touchdowns as Stafford. But again, Stafford is very close to locking this whole thing up.
It was a massive moment for the Bills and for Josh Allen.
100%.
And it may not mean anything for them in the playoffs because they're still going to have these defensive struggles. But a 17-point comeback on the road to beat your divisional rival that people were already telling you has supplanted you, the Bills are like, not so fast. We don't care if we get the wild card. We have the best player in the league.
All right, we got a lot more good stuff to get to with Mike Blewett after the break on SportsGrid. I'm just saying, if I were a good NFL head coach, if I were a hot offensive coordinator, and that coaching cycle's going to come around, and they're like, hey, do you want the Giants job? Or do you want the Michigan job? I think the Michigan job is much better.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
You ain't buying no tickets.
Who isn't?
You're not going
I'm
to
saying
these
I'm a
games.
fan. Of course I'm not. That's a fan. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, but if you were a fan, I thought you were a fan of the Hurricanes. You're not anymore.
They told me.
They
I
smashed
told them
you.
to donate my tickets.
Yeah, so I get it. But the fans travel. They have money, believe it or not. It's amazing.
In this economy,
but they have money. I don't know. See what Kelsey says about the economy.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Look, the trend continues to go to Blake Corum. He's still available. I can't believe he's still available. So if you have Kyron Williams, you got to have Blake Corum on your roster. And if you don't have Kyron Williams, I think you still want Blake Corum on your roster. You got to have these insurance policies on your roster at the very least. Even in a shallow league, if Blake Corum's floating out there, don't let him float out there. The last thing you want to have happen is for him to end up on some other team and then taking you the next couple weeks to win a championship.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
They went all in with the Sauce Gardner trade, right? All in. Give you a couple of number one picks here. Then Daniel Jones breaks the leg. And then he tears the Achilles. All right? You're signing Phillip Rivers. Are you kidding me? I mean, by the way, you know what hasn't been talked about enough? Sam Ehlinger decided he didn't want to come play for the Colts. Why? You would have been. I know Denver activated him to the roster anyway, but he would have been maybe a starting quarterback this weekend.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, back with you right here on SportsGrid. Let's put some best bets. You know what? 10 minutes. 10 minutes, we'll do them again, all right? Best bets. Here's what I will do for the first time because we haven't done it yet. Touchdown scores. Okay? Weirdly, a tricky game, I feel, from a touchdown perspective. I took a shot on A.J. Barner. He does get the Seahawks tush-push variant, and I think Barner is more than capable of catching a touchdown in this game. I do like the double Shaheed look from the fellas, Chris and AJ, both on Shaheed. As per out-of-pocket Yarnell with an 18-1 Jordan Whittington shot there. Mike, anyone from a touchdown angle catch your attention tonight?
I think I got to go with a Rams running back. I'm debating Williams versus Corum. Corum's obviously been getting some more carries lately, but his price at $290, it's pretty good, but not long enough for me. I'll play it safe with Kyron Williams since I expect the Rams to get on the board early. I think the passing game gets them down close, and they give it to the guy, Kyron Williams, to punch it in. Maybe even first touchdown as a small play.
I'm wondering what the price is for each team for a rushing touchdown. I will say I don't like it. It's not really how I'm envisioning the game going, but I also think there's a world where it feels like good value. We have it's actually only minus 110. I actually think that's not a great number on each team. I was expecting a plus price there, so I don't think that's really minus 125 to the no, though. Also, no way I'm playing that. All right. So, Mike, I want to kind of cut to the chase on something.
For the record, last game, Kev, both did have a rushing touchdown. Walker in their last matchup. Both had one.
All right. It's not off the board. Mike, do you see an upset in either Detroit, Pittsburgh, or Baltimore, New England this weekend?
Great question.
Got him.
I would say no.
Okay. I want to then just work off of that. If that it holds, then, and I know I'm harping on this, but I think it's such a huge thing. Week 17 will not matter for either team. And I do not see how the Ravens don't take the bye. Because Lamar every week, it's the hamstring, it's the ankle, he's sick, he needs rest. I do not see how they don't punt week 17 against Green Bay. And that to me then, because that game actually is on a Saturday, if you're Pittsburgh and your opponent punts it, you have to punt it as well. I think that would be insane. And then it sets up, Mike, for a week 18 game, yes, in Pittsburgh, but all of a sudden, kind of a pseudo bye week for these football teams here, which I think only adds to the craziness of this whole situation.
Yeah, pretty unique. And two coaches that, through their attitude and their style, would be probably the guys you would rank 31st and 32nd to give their teams a bye, right? I don't think that that's the way they will approach it. I think if you're, and the way I guess that you would argue it, I'm not saying you have plenty of logic on this stance. I don't like the way you're thinking, but the Steelers' offense actually looks pretty good at the moment. Yeah. Is it good enough to beat Detroit? I don't know about that. The Steelers have issues stopping the run, and the one thing the Lions can really do is gash you. They've done it to a lot of teams this year, particularly with Jahmyr Gibbs. And on the flip side, Baltimore's offense seems kind of broken. You're right about Lamar. He doesn't look healthy. What's going on? What is their approach offensively? They get a nice win against Cincinnati, but that was really more about Cincinnati being lost than it was about the Ravens being particularly good. There's a pick six in there, right? So I would think that Baltimore might want to keep everybody out there to get them a little sharper. Let's get Zay Flowers more involved. What's up with Mark Andrews? Why can't we get a more consistent performance, get some production out of that? 17 points against the Bengals. We all know that they're one of the worst defenses in the league. It's not a great performance. So they'll need to keep it going. So I don't expect the upsets this weekend. I think that they're both in a tough spot. And you and I joked when we saw each other in person at our holiday party, and we were talking about the Tomlin spots. Mm-hmm. Tomlin, the Tomlin tough spot, he gets the win. Tomlin easy spot, they do actually handle Miami, pretty easily. So now, is this a Tomlin spot? This Lions game is a really tough one, coming off of a couple of good victories when they were looking lost. So I think we might be setting up for that Week 18. I think this just feels like this division is a long way from over, even though Baltimore's not playing well at all.
And the one thing I'll kind of reinforce is I agree with Mike that neither franchise feels like the group who would say, shut it down. It's that not shutting down Lamar feels nuts. I don't think you can shut down the quarterback and then be like, but Derek, would you like 25 carries in a meaningless one?
Right.
And then if you're Pittsburgh and the team you play for the playoffs takes a day off the day before you, it's a little hard to be like, 41-year-old Aaron. Myles Garrett in a meaningless one? No, absolutely not. Me and my broken hand are for sure not playing in this game.
The Mason Rudolph thing, though, look, he played fine against the Bears. They actually could have won that game. It was more to me that Bears game was how poorly the offense was designed. And Aaron Rodgers read everyone the riot act.
Yeah.
And they started throwing downfield. They started being more aggressive on 3rd and 4th downs. I don't know that he's jarred something loose, but something clearly changed after he was injured and after the Bears game. It's just been a change. There's no other way to say it.
Without question. They were actually, I've maybe never said this to Mike Blewett, fun to watch on Monday.
Yeah.
The Steelers' offense was fun
in a row?
to watch. It was the Jonnu Smith, and I shouldn't encourage it, but the Jonnu Smith rushing touchdown rocked. All right, couple of quick ones. Best bets, everything you need. Thursday Night Football after the break on SportsGrid. I'm just saying, if I were a good NFL head coach, if I were a hot offensive coordinator, and that coaching cycle's going to come around, and they're like, hey, do you want the Giants job? Or do you want the Michigan job? I think the Michigan job is much better.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
You ain't buying no tickets.
Who isn't?
You're not going
I'm
to
saying
these
I'm a
games.
fan. Of course I'm not. There's a fan. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, but if you were a fan, I thought you were a fan of the Hurricanes. You're not anymore.
They told me.
They
I
smashed
told them
you.
to donate my tickets.
Yeah, so I get it. But the fans travel. They have money, believe it or not. It's amazing. They
Look,
well, somebody's
in this
got
economy,
money.
In this economy, they don't
But
have the money.
they have money. I don't know. See what Kelsey says about the economy.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Look, the trend continues to go to Blake Corum. He's still available. I can't believe he's still available. So if you have Kyron Williams, you got to have Blake Corum on your roster. And if you don't have Kyron Williams, I think you still want Blake Corum on your roster. You got to have these insurance policies on your roster at the very least. Even in a shallow league, if Blake Corum's floating out there, don't let him float out there. The last thing you want to have happen is for him to end up on some other team and then taking you the next couple weeks to win a championship.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
They went all in with the Sauce Gardner trade, right? All in. Give you a couple of number one picks here. Then Daniel Jones breaks the leg. And then he tears the Achilles. All right? You're signing Phillip Rivers. Are you kidding me? I mean, by the way, you know what hasn't been talked about enough? Sam Ellinger decided he didn't want to come play for the Colts. Why? You would have been. I know Denver activated him to the roster anyway, but he would have been maybe the starting quarterback this weekend.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Back on SportsGrid. Game time decisions. In-game live is next. Seahawks Rams. Great game. Can't wait for it. All right? A lot of good stuff to get to. I do want to ask Mike about a couple of other options that he will be covering during in-game live, our Sunday 1 o'clock coverage. And Mike, I can't help it, but I'm sure you saw it coming. A game that all of a sudden now it takes a different life. The Quinn Ewers game up against Cincinnati, where, you know, and again, I know it's coach speak, but McDaniel's like, we got to go with the coach that gives us the best chance to win. And the book said, wow, you certainly did not do that as they shifted Cincinnati up to 4.5-point favorites in this one.
Yeah, it's such a crazy move, and I don't blame McDaniel for it. I think he's gotten tired of maybe feeling like he's held back as a coach. You know, for all the people, there's a lot of Mike McDaniel haters out there, right? And I'm not here to just defend him, but I think he was given a subpar roster this year. I think Chris Greer, the GM that was fired, really stripped down the roster and put him in a tough position. And they extended Tua at a ridiculous price. We now know his buyout is going to be, or his dead cap will be $99 million next year. That will break some records. But here's what I would say. Sean McVay and Mike McDaniel and even Kevin O'Connell come from the same coaching tree. They know when they have guys that can operate the offense like it's intended to operate. And the Dolphins are missing key players, Tyreek Hill. And I think he feels like, and keep in mind, Zach Wilson is on that roster, so he leapfrogged Quinn Ewers to starting quarterback because he feels like he can run all of these crossers, lots of pre-snap motion, and make the decisions that are intended. We saw from Tua, certainly this year, if not his entire career. If it's not the first or the second read, you're in big trouble. And we saw it the other night against Pittsburgh. He took sacks. He threw terrible interception. And I think they just feel like Quinn Ewers is intended to operate this offense, getting the ball out quickly and to the right guys. And he'll know to throw it away and not throw interceptions. We'll see how it goes. I'm not entirely confident, but I think the best offensive coordinators and play callers and play designers make it easy for the quarterbacks. We're seeing that in New England. Josh McDaniels can get criticism for his time as a head coach. What he did with Tom Brady and what he's doing now with Drake May is brilliant. These are a lot of easy throws for him. He's nearly the MVP this year. You just wonder if Mike McDaniel can help Quinn Ewers to do that this weekend.
Yeah, so let's get to tonight's game here. Rams-Seahawks. I'll throw this out there just because last week I mentioned it, and I know Mike was interested in it, but a little, if you want one of those, like, hey, get me to even money parlays, I took Seattle to score 17, Rams to score 14, both Puka and JSN for 5 grabs. That was bang, even money on DK. If you're interested in it, we did it last Thursday night with some team totals and some Bijan action, so we'll look to do it again here. But as far as best bet goes, I love Sam Darnold over 1.5 passing touchdowns at plus 130. What a heck of a number here. The Rams have given up 26 touchdowns this year, 21 passing compared to just 5 on the ground. Darnold this season, when coming off of a game with no passing touchdowns, has thrown at least 2 then in 3 consecutive, looks to make it 4 consecutive tonight. Everything really just lining up for Sam Darnold over 1.5 passing touchdowns. I like Seattle. I think they win the game. I think he plays well, so it's all in there. Chris is on the Rams for a best bet at plus money on the money line. And then a head-to-head here. You'll love this, Blewett. AJ gives out the under. Yarnell gives out the over as far as we go for best bets. What is a best bet for Mike Blewett here in this football game?
I do like the Rams, but like I said earlier, I'm going to take the Rams over in the first half. It's plus money, just 10.5. It's a pretty low number for an offense like the Rams. Doesn't mean they have to win the game with that kind of output in the first half. They scored 14 last time out when it was in LA, and that ended up being a tight game. I expect another tight game, but I'll take the Rams to win it. I think they're the slightly better squad. I kind of like your bets. In terms of an under or an over, I think that one's pretty tight. I think it's a pretty sharp number, but I would go with the under on this one, slightly lower scoring.
I was thinking 24-20 Seattle, so
just over.
Yeah, sneaks there. Not enough conviction to play the total in this game. Touchdown scores, Mike. Who would be your favorite of the bunch?
I'll go Kyron Williams. I think he got the first touchdown in their last matchup. I think he could get that again. I think it's plus 130 there, but maybe a first touchdown, small play at 6-1.
All right, I'm on AJ Barner. We got double Rashid Shaheed and then a Jordan Whittington from Sam. In-game live is next. Rams Seahawks. Best of luck.